On August 6, 1945, the B-29 bomber, Enola Gay, named after Colonel Paul Tibbets's mother and piloted by Tibbets himself, took off from Northfield on Tinian, destined for Japan. Enola Gay was part of a trio that included two other B-29s, the Great Artiste, commanded by Major Charles Sweeney, which carried instrumentation, and a then nameless aircraft later named during takeoff. His assistant, Second Lieutenant Maurice Jepson, removed the safety devices only 30 minutes before reaching the target area. Three other B-29s flew about an hour ahead, acting as weather scouts. Enola Gay reached Hiroshima with clear skies at 8:09 local time, at which point Tibbet, at 8:15 Little Boy, which contained approximately 64 kilograms or 140 pounds of uranium-235, was released. It took 44.4 seconds to fall from the aircraft, flying at about 9.4 kilometers until it detonated approximately 580 meters above the city. At the moment of detonation, the temperature within the fireball itself reached to over 1 million degrees Celsius, matching temperatures found at the sun's core. This intense heat is generated by the nuclear fission reaction within the bomb. The fireball expanded rapidly, reaching a diameter of 280 meters or 306 yards within just 1 second. The heat rays emitted from the fireball raised ground temperatures near the hypercenter to about 4,000 degrees Celsius, which is far beyond the melting point of many materials. This immense heat caused immediate devastating fires and contributed to the widespread destruction in the city. The radius of total destruction was about 1.6 kilometers, with fires spreading over 11 square kilometers. Affected by Enola Gay stayed over the target area for 2 minutes and was 16 kilometers or 10 miles away when the bomb detonated, and about 18.5 kilometers away before it felt the shock waves from the blast. Only Tibbets, Parsons and Ferriby were aware of the weapon's true nature. The rest of the crew were simply warned to expect a blinding flash and were provided with black goggles. It was hard to believe what we saw, Tibbets later told reporters. Parsons described the event as tremendous and awe-inspiring. The men aboard with me gasped, "My God." The decision was made to attack another city. On August 9, 1945, at 3:47 a.m., the B-29 Superfortress boxcar, commanded by Major Charles Sweeney, took off from Tinian Island with the Fat Man plutonium bomb on board. The mission plan was almost identical to that of Hiroshima, with two B-29s, including the Enola Gay, flying an hour ahead as weather scouts. Additionally, the Ahata steelworks intentionally burned coal tar to produce black smoke. The resulting conditions covered 70% of the area over Kokura, obscuring the aiming point. Over the next 50 minutes, 3 bomb runs were made, burning fuel and exposing the aircraft to heavy defenses, but the bombardier could not drop visually. By the third bomb run, Japanese anti-aircraft fire was getting close. With fuel running low due to the failed fuel pump, Boxcar and the Great Artiste headed for their secondary target, Nagasaki. The term Kokura's luck emerged from this mission, highlighting how the city's obscured visibility due to weather and smoke spared it from the atomic bomb. The crew decided that if Nagasaki was obscured on arrival, they would carry the bomb to Okinawa and dispose of it in the ocean. At 11:01 a.m., as Boxcar approached Nagasaki, a lucky break in the clouds allowed the bombardier to visually sight the target as ordered. The Fat Man bomb, containing approximately 5 kilograms or 11 pounds of plutonium, was released over the city's industrial valley. It detonated 47 seconds later, at 11:02 a.m., approximately 503 meters or 1,650 feet above the ground. The explosion occurred almost directly over a tennis court, halfway between two significant industrial targets. Boxcar and its support aircraft, the Great Artiste, quickly left the area after the bomb release. Meanwhile, Big Stink, which had been separated earlier, spotted the explosion from a distance of 160 kilometers or 100 miles away and flew over to observe the aftermath. The immediate death toll was estimated to be between 40,000 and 75,000 people, with tens of thousands more succumbing to injuries and radiation effects in the following months and years. After the Hiroshima bombing, it is estimated that as many as
towering mushroom effect could be seen going higher and higher and reaching into the stratosphere. Because the bomb was exploded high above the ground, the greatest part of its harmful radioactive material was dissipated in the stratosphere. As a result, the area under the explosion was relatively free from radioactivity. Persons entering Nagasaki shortly after the explosion to do rescue work sustained no ill effect or injury. In an area of a little more than 3 square miles, there was very severe steel and arms works extended almost a mile in length. Its buildings were modern and typical of American industrial construction, having steel frames and roof and siding of corrugated metal or asbestos. corrugated metal from the framework of the building. Where corrugated metal remained, it was pushed in like tissue paper. These buildings show a varying degree of destruction depending upon proximity to 0 point and building strength. This foundry, 3/10 of a mile away from 0 point, shows considerable damage in spite of fairly good construction. Other buildings were stronger, some being constructed to support heavy overhead cranes.
Freight roll aboard the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay. Here on the morning of September 2nd, the drama of surrender reached its climax. In a ceremony that lasted only 20 minutes, the fate of Japan was sealed forever. The 11-man Japanese delegation was photographed by cameramen, perched at every vantage point to record the momentous event for posterity. The stage was set. General MacArthur walked from a cabin to open the surrender ceremonies.
We are gathered here, representatives of the major warring powers, to conclude a solemn agreement whereby peace may be restored. The terms and conditions upon which surrender of the Japanese imperial forces is here to be given and accepted are contained in the instrument of surrender now before you. I now invite the representatives of the Emperor of Japan and the Japanese government and the Japanese Imperial General Headquarters to sign the instrument of surrender at the places indicated.
On behalf of Emperor Hirohito, Foreign Minister Mamoru Shigemitsu signed for the Japanese government. Japan accepted unconditional surrender according to the provisions of the Potsdam Declaration.
The Supreme Commander for the Allied powers will now sign on behalf of all the nations at war with Japan. Will General Wainwright and General Percival step forward and accompany me while I sign?
General Jonathan Wainwright, liberated hero of Corregidor, and British General Arthur Percival, who was forced to surrender Singapore, stood at attention behind MacArthur as he began to write his name with the first of 5 pens. Pen number 1 went to General Wainwright. The second pen was handed to General Percival. The third and fourth were earmarked for the National Archives and West Point. The fifth, Mac kept for himself.
These proceedings are closed.
The main drama of surrender was over. Now, throughout the Japanese Empire, in 5 designated surrender regions, the field armies of Japan laid down their guns. All enemy forces in China yielded to Generalissimo Chiang Kai-shek. Those in Manchuria and Northern Korea to the Soviets. In the Burma theater, East Indies and Southwest Pacific, they gave up to Admiral Mountbatten and the Australian commander. Admiral Nimitz took the surrender in the Central Pacific. And General MacArthur in Japan, Southern Korea, and the Philippines.